everyone! So today we are going to be doing Sig Test number 6, which is holes and asymptotes. So when you get your Sig Test paper, it's going to look a little something like this with the equations on top and the questions on the side. So what I've done for right now is I have marked up each equation and the steps, so when I do the work on a separate sheet of paper, you know what I'm going to do. So let's start with 1A. So when the question asks you what the vertical asymptote of this equation is, the first thing you're going to have to do is simplify the equation as much as you can. So what I'm going to do right now is rewrite the equation, x squared minus 2x plus 3 over x plus 3. So what we are going to do right now is try and simplify this. So there are many different methods of how to simplify an equation. I'm going to use the big X method, but you can use whatever method you would like. So we're going to multiply the 3 and the negative 1 and put it on top, and then the negative 2 is going to be on the bottom. 3, 1, negative, and then we're going to divide it by negative 1. So what we are going to have on top is y equals x plus 3 and y equals x minus 1, and on the bottom we're bringing down the x plus 3 from the equation. So when it asks you to find the vertical asymptote, you're going to have to set the denominator to 0. Before we set the denominator to 0, we can see right now that we can cross out the x plus 3's. So that's what we're going to do right now because we have to simplify this equation as much as we can. So we are left with y equals x minus 1. So we are looking to see if there is a denominator, and if there's a denominator, we will equal it to 0 to find the vertical asymptote. But because there is no denominator, we are going to write none for this box right here. So now we're going to move on to horizontal asymptote. So to find horizontal asymptote, we're going to go back and look at our original equation. We're going to look at the highest exponents in the numerator and in the denominator, and that is how we can tell if there is a horizontal asymptote. So a trick that I use to make it easier for myself when finding the horizontal asymptote is these two words, BO and BOTN. So BO stands for bigger on bottom equals 0, BO, and this stands for bigger on top equals none. So what this means is when the highest exponent on the numerator and the denominator, when you're looking at it, if it's bigger on the bottom, it's 0. So in this situation right now, the numerator is bigger than the denominator. So if it's bigger on top, then none is your horizontal asymptote. So for this equation, there is no horizontal asymptote. So we're going to write none right there. Now, when it asks you for a whole, I know here it says x and y and here it says x and y, but these two things don't necessarily have to be the same thing. So you always have to double check that there is a whole. Like you can't just write none here because there might be a whole here and we need to double check. So the way you see if there is a whole is you go back to your equation and again you simplify it. So we've already simplified it up here, so I'm just going to rewrite the equation, x plus 3, x minus 1 over x plus 3. You're going to use the equation in this step right here before you've crossed anything out. So the way to find to see if there is a whole is you actually look. If in your equation you're able to make crosses, like if you're able to cross something out, that is going to be your whole. So if this equation was x plus 2, x minus 1 over x plus 3, there wouldn't be any holes because you're not able to cross anything out. So when we go back to our original equation, because you're able to cross out the x plus 3, we can't just disregard that. So we're going to use the x plus 3 as our whole. So what you do is you take the number that you crossed out and you equal it to 0. And then you're going to solve for x. So x is negative 3. So in this whole right here, this first x is going to be negative 3. Now to find out what your y is you're going to have to plug in this x equals -3 back to the equation that was most simplified. Because if you plug back to this -3 to the original equation, then you're going to do -3 plus 3 and your denominator is going to be 0. And we all know that you can't have a 0 in the denominator. So what you're going to do is you're going to plug this -3 back to this equation. So y equals -3 minus 1, and that means that your answer is -4. Wow, so I've written this wrong on my answer sheet. This is actually -4. Sorry about that. So this is going to be -3, -4. So these next two equations I'm going to go through very quickly because I've already explained it all, but I'm still going to go through it. So again, for vertical asymptote, I'm going to rewrite the equation. Y equals -x squared minus 2x plus 3 over x squared plus 6x plus 9. So again, I'm going to use the big X method. So from the last problem, we already know that on top it is x plus 3, x minus 1, and then on the bottom 9, 6, 3, 3, x plus 3, x plus 3. So right now we're going to cross these two out and we are left with y equals x minus 1 over x plus 3. So this equation number 2 is a little different from equation number 1 because in this situation we actually do have a vertical asymptote. So what we are looking for is to see if there's a denominator, which there is, so we're going to equal the denominator to 0 and we are left with x equals -3. So over here in this box we are going to write x equals -3. So for horizontal asymptote we're going to look at our exponents again, and in this case both our exponents are the same number. So whenever both of your exponents are the same number, so there is no bigger number or smaller number, you're going to take the coefficient and you're going to see what it is. So over here our coefficient is -1 over 1, which is -1. So your horizontal asymptote is going to be -1. Now for whole, again, like we said before, we're going to take our simplified equation, so x plus 3, x minus 1. And then, like we said for the equation number 1, to find the whole, we are going to need to simplify this, take our simplified version, and see if we can cross anything out. So we are able to cross out the x plus 3's. However, in the denominator, there is 2x plus 3's. So even if we cross these out, we are still going to be left with y equals x minus 1 over x plus 3. So even though we already crossed out, because the same thing is still on the bottom, there is going to be no whole. Now for the last equation, I'm going to leave that for you guys to do on your own, just to see if you could do it, and then I'm going to put the answers up so you can double check when you're done. Okay, thank you for watching the video. I hope this really helped you. Yeah, have a great day.